Welcome to the Measurement Doctor Podcast. The doctors are in the house. And now your hosts, George and Lorie Gill. Welcome to the Measurement Doctor Podcast. I'm George Gill.
And I'm Lorie Gill.
And here we are, the first episode of 2016.
Where has the time gone?
What do you mean? It's just started.
I know, but we're already into halfway through January. Well, what have you been up to?
You know what, Lorie? You gotta expect the unexpected.
I do with you.
That's awesome. It was an amazing New Year's. It was an amazing 2015, but I'm super excited about 2016. We got a great lineup for the podcast. We have monthly interviews going from now right through to December.
I know, that's pretty exciting.
It is, and we got some great leaders that we're going to be interviewing that can help our listenership hopefully grow their business, take action both personally and professionally, and trajectorize their life. I just made that one up.
I was just about to say, should I be looking that up in the dictionary?
So, who do we have today? What's going on today? Because today is a really special episode.
Okay, so I met Richard Robbins, who is the author of Deliver the Unexpected.
Oh, hold that.
Okay, perfect.
The Unexpected.
So right. I met him at Women's Business Network.
Do you ever go anywhere besides the Women's Business Network? Like, when are you home exactly?
I do. It's only once a month, technically.
All right,
so anyways, This was back in September of 2014.
14?
Yeah, 2014. But then we actually read this book.
Guy made an impression. I mean,
he did.
Years,
but we used this book in our book club in September of 2015. So it was a year after year kind of thing. And it got me thinking about reaching out to Richard and seeing if he would share his expertise to our listeners as well.
All right. Okay. So we're gonna talk a lot about I presume this book today. And
yes.
Let me just tune off my Skype here for a second so we're not getting beeps in between.
Okay.
But a couple of things that I noticed about the book. First of all, Richard Robbins. I gotta ask, right? Tony Robbins' cousin, I'm assuming? No. Okay. All right.
He's wholly Canadian.
I love him already.
And just to give you a little bit of insight,
yeah.
His family lives fairly close to where we live right now.
Okay, so
he's a local.
Okay, I gotta be nice.
Okay.
Got it. I love the back of the people that actually wrote. What do they call those again?
Not testimonials, but they've kind of preludes to the book.
Yeah. Some great authors and leaders alone on the back of his book.
I know.
Writing a claim to it. Okay, why don't we introduce today's guest?
Okay, so
you're going to pull this right from the book.
I'm going to pull it right from the book because what the PR department sent me was more on the real estate side of things. And I know, Richard, that you're a little bit more than real estate. So Richard Robbins is co-founder and CEO of Richard Robbins International. He's one of North America's, and I'm going to say Canada's, foremost business coaches. He has spoken live to over 250,000 people worldwide and more than 5,000 entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and real estate agents. Have graduated from the acclaimed the RRI Business Coaching Program, which he offers as well. So we are excited to have you join us today.
Welcome, Richard.
Well, thank you so much. It's really good to be here, and I just hope that you two are going to get along a little better during our interview. Okay? Just throwing that out there.
No guarantees. I mean, the first 10 years it was complete honeymoon, but you're hitting the third decade.
I understand. Yes, I'm in my third actually as well, so it's all good.
And you work alongside your wife too, don't you?
I do actually. My wife runs a company. Yes,
yeah.
She's sort of behind the scenes, if you know what I mean, and I'm sort of in front of the scenes. We call it front stage, backstage. I'm the front stage. She's the backstage. And I promise, without the backstage, it would be a disaster.
Nice. You know what? You gotta know this guy's skilled right off the hop. He knows it's being recorded. He knows it's being publicized. He just complimented the wife. He just said she's the boss. Whatever happens from here forward, it's a success.
That's right. Yes, that's right. Now I'll just have to get her to listen to it. You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah. That's it. Awesome. All right. So why don't we begin, Richard, by telling us a little bit about why you decided to write the book, why it's a fable, and tell us a little about that background, essentially.
Well, I've had a dream for a long time to write a book. I don't consider myself a great writer. You probably understand a lot of people that can speak, they're not necessarily really good at writing, and a lot of people that are great writers are not necessarily good at speaking. So I've always enjoyed the speaking side of things, but I just always had a dream. I wanted to write a book, and I'm going to write more than one. So it was about 5 years in the works, but it actually probably took me from start to finish about 24 months from the time I finally sat down and said, let's get started, to when I finished it. But why did I write a fable? I love reading fables. I don't know if you've ever read any of Patrick Lencioni's books, but he's written a lot of great business books, and they're all written in fables. And the reason I like a fable is because it engages me like a nonfiction or like a fiction book. So there's characters, there's drama, there's excitement, you know what I mean? But as you're reading through it, there's also lessons, that you're learning from the characters in the book. And I know some people love fables, I know some people don't, but I just wanted to write something that I personally enjoyed reading. So that's where the fable idea came from.
I love fables too. I find them, they're relatable. It
Yes.
it pulls you in, and you can go along with the character saying, oh yeah, I experienced that. And
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the monk who sold his Ferrari, great fable concept.
Yes.
The alchemist, great fable.
Yeah.
People learn when they get excited. They're more accepting of the information coming at them. So I think fables are very powerful. So I totally 100% agree. Now, deliver the unexpected. You really wrote this for real estate, but from what I understand, it goes far further than just real estate.
Yes. Well, when I wrote the book, what I was trying to do, my audience, obviously, I'm very narrow and deep in the real estate industry. I do speaking outside of real estate, but in terms of our coaching, and that's, because we understand that market really, really well. I believe that successful business people today must go narrow and deep. They got to be very good at what they do, and they got to understand the industry. So because it's one of our teachings, it's something that we do. However, when I wrote the book, I thought, well, my audience, the people that are going to buy the book that know me, are real estate agents, brokers, owners of companies. But I wanted to write a book that would transcend that. I wanted to write a book that if they read it and they go, hey, that book was pretty good, that they could actually give it to their friends or their husband or wife or other people they know, or read it at a book club. So as much as it was really written, and a couple of the characters are obviously real estate sales professionals, but the teachers in the book are not from the real estate industry at all. So I wrote it in a way that my audience would enjoy it because it's very much our teachings, but on the other hand, that it could transcend the industry and people could share it if they're excited about the message.
which is, now I've read it about 3 times, and and you pull something out of it each and every time, and it's a really, George, you should read it. Truly, it's
Yes,
a quick
George, you
read.
should.
It's an easy read. It's a quick read, but the messages are pretty clear.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of the other part of it, is that I'm the type of guy, like, I travel a lot on planes, and I love the idea when I can get on a plane that's, say, a 4 or 5 hour flight and pretty well get through a good book. Maybe not always, but, and I like that. I don't want them to be long. If you notice, even the print is large print, and it was just
a little bit larger, yes.
It was just based on, well, maybe it's my age now, but it was just based on the fact that that's what I like. And I thought, well, if you're going to write something, whether people like it or don't like it, well, I'm going to write something that I would enjoy reading, and then I'm appealing to people that are sort of similar to me in their thought processes.
I think that's a smart approach. I like that approach a lot. I mean, a lot of work goes into this, and I personally haven't written a book. I've started the concept of the idea, and I can just imagine, because I already know, as far as I've gone, the amount of work that's involved. If you're going to do it, you want to enjoy the process. So certainly doing it as something that you would appreciate, I think, sets the bar high for what you're going to achieve at the end, which is excellent.
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
So in the book, you discuss 7 success myths, so to speak. And I mean, of course, you are relating it to real estate, but which of the myths, maybe the top 2 or 3, do you find that most entrepreneurs themselves are struggling with?
Well, it's interesting because when somebody emails me or on social media that, I read your book, loved your book, I always respond back and I go, which myth could you relate to? And the number one myth that people seem to relate to, and again, most of the readers are entrepreneurs, is the failure myth. And it just makes so much sense, and it's such an easy concept, and not necessarily something we all hadn't heard before. But my theory is this: is that, and even in my own life, like I started selling real estate in Peterborough when I was 24 years old. I was there for about 3 years before I moved up to Toronto. But I remember when I first started, I was so afraid of somebody saying no to me. And if you look at, sales in general or entrepreneurs in general, like, let's face it, we're going to get a lot more no's than we are yeses. So what I started to do is I started to count my no's. And my goal every day was to get at least 10 no's. That's sort of how I started. And I thought, and once I got a whole bunch of no's after a while, it just, it's like, water off a duck's back. It was no big deal anymore, because the theory was that each no was getting me closer to a yes. And I went back to even, in high school. I remember, all the guys were afraid to ask the girls out or ask them to dance at the high school dance. And I remember this one guy, he said, you want to know something? If you want somebody to dance with you, just ask a whole bunch of girls. Somebody's going to say yes. And I thought, hey, that's right. You know what I mean? And this guy was a little ballsy. And of course, that's what he did. And he always had a date. And he was always dancing with somebody. And the rest of us were standing around, too afraid, because we don't want to get that one no. So the whole concept is that, a lot of people, and the myth is that they think, failure is the opposite of success. And failure is not the opposite of success if you really look at it. Failure is a path to success. You look at baseball, if somebody's got a 300, batting average, they're an all-star. They're making millions of dollars a year, and that means that they're striking out or, not getting on plate 7 out of 10 times. They're failing 7 out of 10 times, and they're an all-star, right? And so I guess that myth stands out for a lot of people, the whole concept that we've got to go into the world and we've got to be willing to fail more. We've got to be willing to ask for what we want. Because if somebody rejects you, then I look at it and say, if somebody says no, I remember when I was in real estate and I'd go door knocking back in the early days, right? And my manager taught me this. He said, listen, if somebody says no to you, Rich, you're no worse off, are you? You didn't have an appointment before. You didn't have a lead before. So when they say no, you're just in the same place. Right. It's no big deal. You're not any further back. And actually, sometimes when you fail, you're further ahead because the knowledge you've gained from that, because that's where your greatest educations are, right? Well, obviously, that strategy didn't work. I need to try this. Or, that approach didn't work. I need to try that. So I would say that is a big one. And then the second one, which is a really simple one, and I find, like, we're in the coaching business. Well, the coaching business, to me, has two components. We've got to teach people better practices, and then we've got to hold them accountable to taking action. And if they perform a better practice and take action, they're going to produce better results. So the other one is the knowledge myth, and a lot of people think that they need to know more, and they're always getting ready to get ready, but they never actually pull the trigger. You know what I mean? And so where I believe that it's not actually necessarily learning more, but it's doing possibly more of all of the things we already know. And in the world today, there's so much information with the internet that I find that sometimes we get so caught up in hiding behind our computers or whatever the case is, instead of just getting out into the world and just take more action. Sort of like, a lot of people, they go, I got to get ready, and then I got to aim, and then I got to fire. And my theory is get ready, fire, 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 and then aim. Right? Well, then go back. Okay, now I get ready, fire, fire, fire. Aim. So that's what you do, is go out and take massive action on a regular basis, learn what's working and what's not working, and then sort of take a look at what you're doing, redefine what you're doing, which is the aim part, and then come back, get ready, and start firing again. So they're sort of the two that I see most people respond well to.
It's almost like you've just married that failure and knowledge myth, those two myths together, in the fact that you're saying, keep going out there and failing, and it's that knowledge that you're gaining that's going to push you forward into the success. Well
said, Lorie. It's interesting. The whole idea about writing a book like this is all you're trying to do is you're trying to get somebody to change the way they think, right? So we all have these beliefs. I've got my limiting beliefs. Obviously, you both have your limiting beliefs. We all do, right? It's like, I mean not George, but I mean
no, not George.
And but we all have these limiting beliefs. So some people just think failure is bad. Well, that's a limiting belief, right? It's like, some people think they're overweight because they're big boned, and I go, no, you're not. You're fat. Like, let's get a few things straight. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a belief. Well, I'm just really big bone, and all the no, you're not big bone. You're overweight, right?
Or
so
lazy.
the belief is that you're big bone. The belief is that failure is bad, right? The belief is I've got to learn more before I should start. I've got to get more prepared before I start. And mobility is the greatest teacher in the world for all successful business people, right? Just take action faster than everybody else, and you'll quickly figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to use knowledge as the excuse, and not just the fact that they don't have enough knowledge. People need to be busy. They need to feel like they're accomplishing something. Yeah. It's much easier to continue to learn and learn more and learn more and learn more than sometimes it is to take action. So that can be one of the biggest excuses that people can tap into. Going back to the failure myth, I really like that. In fact, if you're a leader of salespeople or sales teams, that's a strategy that I highly encourage. Is don't ask your salespeople how many sales they made today. Ask them how many no's they got. Yes. Start that discipline, and you'll change right from the inside out the way your sales organization performs. Because they're always fearing. Salespeople are always fearing. Oh, the boss is here. He comes. He's going to ask me how many deals I got. And when you start to approach that from how many no's you got, because that defines your effort. That defines where you're going. And if you're not getting enough of those, I can't help you with training. I can't help you with anything else because you're just not taking action
100%.
At this stage. Yeah, so I really like that. But I just want to talk just a hair about the accountability. Because I think in a lot of entrepreneurs, they understand that the secret to success is failure. I love to say that because I believe it. I truly do believe it. It's one of my inspiring beliefs. Yeah. That as long as I'm failing, I'm growing, I'm heading in the direction of my goals. I stop failing, I stop expanding, I stop trying. It's just downhill battle. But you mentioned the second stage or the second component of leadership, coaching, mentorship, whatever we want to call that, is the accountability side. How could entrepreneurs apply some sort of accountability component to that failure myth, do you find?
Well, it's actually the knowledge myth if you think about it, because if we want to take more action, right? If we want to do more of what we know, then that's where the accountability comes in. And again, salespeople that are on their own, entrepreneurs that are on their own, which many of them are, they're not accountable to anybody. And even if you look at the real estate industry, like, real estate agents aren't accountable. And a lot of people get into real estate because they don't have to be accountable. And that is one of the reasons why the failure rate is so high, right? Well, I can get up when I want, I can go home when I want, I can work when I want, and I go, well, there's mistake number one. That's why you're not going to succeed. So my theory is this, that we all need accountability to do the things that are difficult for us to do on a regular basis. There's a lot of things in my life I don't need accountability for. But there's many things in my life I do need accountability for. So if you looked at your life and said, okay, I need to exercise more, and I've never been good at that, well, you need accountability. You need somebody to hold you accountable, which, can be a husband, can be a wife, can be a coach, can be a trainer, whatever the case is. Same in sales. If you're having trouble making the calls or, setting appointments, which is usually the most difficult thing, that's what you're going to need accountability for. So you have to set up your life and say, now, how do I develop that? Well, hire a coach, get somebody in your office, whatever the case is. Accountability is going to come from other people. And there was a great study done that the lady slips, I can't think of her name right now, but anyway, she was down in a university in California, and she took 267 professionals. And what she did, and these were all professionals, like professional salespeople, management teams, CEOs, the whole deal. And she found that when people set goals, right, and setting a goal is just deciding what we want in the future, that just by writing down the goal, they were almost 40% more likely to achieve the goal. Just by writing it down, I think it was 39.7%. But the minute that they wrote down a goal and then shared the goal with somebody else and had it to report on a regular basis, there was a 76.7% chance they were going to achieve that goal, which is massive, right? So that's the power of accountability. But the other cool thing about accountability, it's not just getting you to take the action, it's getting you to do the last 20% of the effort. So an example is I have a trainer that comes to my house a few days a week when I'm in town, And I don't need accountability anymore to work out. I'm pretty good at that. You know what I mean? It's become routine. I get up in the morning, I go down to the gym, I jump on the bike or whatever, and I like it. I can read, I can watch TV, I can listen to a podcast or whatever I want to do. So I got thinking, well, why do I need my trainer? I've been working out with this guy for 10 years, right? And I tease him all the time. I said, like, what are you teaching me new? Like, I know how to do a bench press. I know how to do an arm curl or whatever you teach me how to do. And he says, no, you don't have to. You don't need me to show up anymore. You don't need me to show you how to lift the weights. But I'll tell you what you do need me for is you need me to do the last 2 to 4 reps. I got thinking about it. I go, wow, right? Because he said, you'll do the first 8 by yourself, but you're not going to do the last 2 or 4 by yourself.
Right.
And so even when I'm on the road and I go to a gym and I work out by myself, I'm never as tired when I finish by myself as I am when I finish with him. Like, he kills me, right?
Right.
So the accountability is 2 things. Number one, it'll help us take action, number one. But number 2 is going to increase the amount of effort we put into that action, because now there's a result that we want to complete, right, at the end. So it's one of the most powerful things in the world for entrepreneurs and business people. And almost all entrepreneurs and business people don't have enough of it in their life. With more, they double, triple their incomes.
Right. The analogy of the weightlifting is absolutely excellent, because, what most people don't realize is you don't actually build muscle doing the first 8 reps. It's that last 2 when you can barely lift that you're actually stretching, and that's where the key is. I thought that was an excellent analogy, because the same goes with, the failure aspect of, it's great to get a no, but it's not until you push yourself to get repetitive no's that you're actually growing. If it's not hurting, you're not growing. Let's put it that way.
100%. That's what my trainer keeps telling me, and I'm really trying to believe him.
Yeah, probably a good trainer.
But you've stuck with him for 10 years, so that's got to say something.
Yeah, he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. He really is, and he actually drives 40 minutes to my house. So how good is that, right? Like, because we've been working out so long that he used to, go to everybody's homes, but now he's all set up, and he brings people to him now, and I think I'm one of the only clients that he's still visiting. So I'm afraid to let him go, because probably nobody else will come and help me.
So I've been reading a few posts about you as well, and you talked about internal and external motivation. So how does one go about getting their external motivation in line with their internal motivation? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the thing that I've been studying for a long, long time. For some reason, I've always been crazy interested in success and human behavior. Like, it's just always really interests me. Why do we do what we do? Especially when we know what we know. You know what I mean? Like, what do we do? So anyway, and it shouldn't even be called internal motivation. To me, the difference is motivation and inspiration, right? Okay. But I do refer to it as internal and external, because people can relate to that. So generally speaking, if you study human behavior, people take action for 2 reasons, right? Number 1, because they want to. Number 2, because they have to. So you look at some entrepreneurs, especially in the real estate game, like, they'll work really hard when they ran out of money. Like, that's not a problem, right? They can go out and they can prospect, they can door knock, they can do open house, they can do it all. Once the money's getting low, the bank account's getting low, or the line of credit's getting deep, there's no problem with work ethic. The challenge with that is we're going to work then because we have to. That's external motivation. There's something on the outside of it. So it's like dictatorship, right? Look at dictatorship. Why do most people do what they do? Because, you're going to be punished, or whatever the case is, if you don't conform to what we want. And it's almost the difference between dictatorship and democracy, right? So people then are working a lot of times because they have to. The key to success, especially for business people, when we have a choice to how much we work, how much money we're going to make, how much value we're going to bring to the marketplace, is that going to work every day because you want to. And that's internal motivation. So an example is, I got 2 choices. I can be moving away from something I don't want, or I can be moving towards something I really want. Moving away from something I don't want, negative cash flow, bills, can't pay my, that sort of thing. A lot of people, think about it, a lot of behavior doesn't change until something dramatic happens. Somebody funny has a heart attack, I better get healthy. They're trying to move away now from something they don't want to happen anymore. Now, I'm not saying that motivation doesn't work. It does. But the problem with it is generally only short term. It's like once I make the money, then I'm going to quit making the calls or whatever. Like, once I got my health okay and it seems like I'm okay, a lot of people go right back to the old behaviors again, right? To me, the internal motivation or inspiration comes from within, and that is when we can see with clarity. And I always say we've got to be so clear on what it is we want to create in our lives. And this is back to, creating a dream list of 50 things you want to do. I even get our clients to say, okay, not only do I want to know how much money you want to make next year, which, as an entrepreneur, you've got to make that decision because we all got bills to pay. But I say, I'd like you to create the perfect life. I want you to write down not only how much money do you need to, say, make mortgage payments or car payments, whatever the case is, to live the life that you want to live. I want to know how much you want to save. I want to know how much debt you want to eliminate. I want to know how much it would cost you next year to live the perfect life. The perfect life. 6 weeks holidays? Great. How much will that cost? Kids in the school you want? Great. How much will that cost? So create the perfect life. Now, money in and of itself isn't a motivator. It's what the money does for us. It's a motivator.
Right.
Once we know what we want it for, because the why is more important than the how, right? The why is very, very powerful. The why is emotional. The why is your motivation. Once I can see that, yes, I want to help my parents financially, or I want to get my kids in a really nice school, or I want to eliminate all of my debt, or whatever the case is, or I want to save $50,000 or $70,000 in the next year. Once I get clear on what I want my future to look like, then the internal motivation comes from every day. Guess what I should be looking at? That. Because once I know what I want in the future with absolute clarity, then I can determine what I need to do in the present to make that become a reality. Just like planning a holiday. If I plan a holiday 3 months out, I say, I'm going to be there in 3 months. That's a goal. Well, I can determine now, because I know where I want to be in 3 months, what I need to do today to start making that become a reality. Or our life unfolds exactly the same, but people spend more time planning a one-week holiday than they do the future of their lives. They spend more time planning a one-day wedding than they do their future of their lives, and they all unpack exactly the same. The challenge is most people aren't clear in what they want. Crystal clear. A lot of people, I want to lose weight. How much, right? And a lot of people want to make more money. They're the two big goals everybody has. But I go, well, how many hours a week do you want to work? What day do you want to take off? Do you want to take Sundays off? Do you want to take Wednesday afternoon off? That's how clear you got to get. I want to pick the kids up every day at 3 o'clock. Great. Write all this stuff down. And then say, I'm now in the process of that creation. Now, why this works is this. Some people have had the experience where the anticipation of the holiday was better than the holiday. Some of us have that. Like, you're looking so forward to it. You're so excited, right? I can't wait to get there.
You're so focused to get yourself ready to get there.
Right. And what are you focused on? You're focused on all the great things that are going to happen in that holiday, which makes you happy. Just like the concept that there was a study done, and they tried to figure out that normal workers work Monday to Friday. What days are they happiest? Friday, Saturday, or Sunday? They're happiest on Saturday, but the second happiest day is Friday, not Sunday. How does this make any sense? I'm working Friday, I'm off Sunday, but I'm happier on Friday than I am Sunday when I'm off.
Yeah.
Because of what we're thinking, right?
Because on Sunday, we're thinking we have to go back to work Monday.
It's like, go to a cottage. Saturdays are great at a cottage. Sundays are a pain because all you're thinking about is what time do you want to leave? Oh, we got to pack up, right? So that's the internal motivation. The internal motivation is just like the Saturday or the Friday. It's what I see that I'm creating for myself. It's what I'm looking forward to every day. And when I look forward to that every day, I think differently because what I'm focused on, I feel differently, which means I act differently, which means I produce better results in my life. So the internal motivation is going to be caused by focusing on the future, right, rather than the past. And if you really think about it, most people spend, well, they say 83% of their time focusing on the past rather than the future. What I should have done, what I shouldn't have done. I call it shouldn't all over ourselves, but that's what we're spent all this time doing, right? So that's the difference. I don't want to go to work because I have to. Now, there's times we all have to, understand, but get by that as fast as you can. Decide what you're going to create for your future, the life that you want to live, how you want to spend your 800,000 hours on this earth, and get crystal clear about it. And then once you're crystal clear about it, I wake up every day, and I've done this for 25 years, is I review all of my dreams and all of my goals. I call it my living legacy, and I get thinking right. I read good books. I keep putting good stuff into my head, right? And the more good stuff I put into here, the better I think. Better I think, better I feel, better I act, better results I produce in my life. So it's doing things because you want to, not because you have to. And that's the big difference. I hope I explained that clearly.
No, very well. So basically, that's a daily routine. You feel that people need to go through to stay on that track, because you miss a day essentially, and you're almost falling off the track. It's always easier to go fall back than it is to go forward.
Well, here's what I find interesting, right? I find interesting that we seem to value our bodies more than our mind. So what I mean by that is, isn't it interesting that we wake up in the morning and we shower, brush our teeth, do our hair, put our makeup on, whatever the case is, and we get all ready, so that we look good on the outside. We seem to value exercise. Almost, everybody knows that if you exercise, it's good for you. So they value it. Whether they do it or not, it's a different story, but we value it. But how many people get up in the morning and get mentally prepared? What's interesting is that our brain, our mind is our software, our body is our hardware. The software runs the hardware. So we spend all this time getting the hardware ready. It's like shining up the computer. But what have we done for the internal drive? You know what I mean? What have we done to get this baby going, to get it thinking properly, to get it focused on what it wants to do? Because I got two choices every day. I can wake up and I can constantly be proactive, moving towards the goals and dreams that I have and the value that I want to bring to the marketplace. Or I can get up every day and be reactive, which means I'm probably moving towards everybody else's goals all day, right?
Right.
You have one or two choices. You're either moving towards, you're helping everybody else achieve theirs. And so that's the difference. Everybody gets up, gets physically ready, but very few people get mentally ready.
And you're more proactive. You're more empowered when you're being proactive, and more sluggish when you're being reactive.
Yeah, and you feel better about yourself too.
Yeah.
Like that's what I find. If I now I know I'm a bit of a freak, but I like scheduling, and I like if you look at my day, it's all color coded. I know where I'm going to be. Now I open up free time so then I can do whatever I want as well. But my theory is that every day, if I have a productive day, I'm going to feel really good about me. And if I feel really good about me, that's going to make me a better husband, a better father, a better coach, a better person, because you stand a little higher, you walk, you feel good. You're going, hey, got a little swag going on. I feel good about me. And it makes me a better person. It makes me better for society. That's my theory. Because the most important feeling in the world is the way I feel about me.
Yeah.
Right? If I feel good about me, then I go out into the world and you want to help everybody else. So how do I feel good about me? Well, that means that the actions that I take every day should be in line with my values, with what I most value. Well, my values are my goals and my dreams. The type of relationship I want to have, or the father you want to be, or the goals that you set for yourself. So I look at it, well, if I value health, then I guess I better exercise, because if I don't, I'm going to feel guilty, right? If I value having a productive business, then I better spend some time every day growing my business, because then I go home and feel good about myself. All of these things. So that means that everything I do every day is moving me in the direction of my goals and dreams. And
it's interesting. I've never heard values tied to your goals and dreams before. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that before. Because most people think of values as, some inner, let me figure this out and meditate. But in reality, if we've set a goal, or if we've set a target, obviously we must value that. Mm-hmm. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you set a target, quite often you're trying to create maybe financial independence, right? Mm-hmm. Or financial stability. That's a value. Mm-hmm. That's something that we really value, and then we can start going to work because we want to. Right. Relationships. I really value the relationship I have with my wife. I really do, which means there's certain things I've got to do, or we have to do, so we can maintain that relationship, right? Like, for instance, she caught me this morning. I walking out of the house, and she's working at home. She's got an office upstairs in her house, and I was up talking to her for a while before I left, because we like to review our days together. Okay, what are you up to? What am I up to? And then I stood up and I said, okay, hon, well, I'll see you tonight. And she goes, aren't you supposed to kiss me every time you leave? And you know what I mean? Like, and that is something that we normally do. Of course, me being whatever at the time, I forgot, and she caught me, and I go over and give her a little kiss, right? So, but these are the things we've got to do, right? And what's good about my wife and I is we do hold each other accountable to that, because we're committed. Man, if you're going to have a relationship, my theory is, why not have a good one?
Absolutely.
You're already in it, right?
You're in it for the long haul, not the
That's
short
right.
haul.
Let's make it good. Well, my wife was with me when I was speaking at your event, actually. Right?
She was. I know. I got to meet her. That was wonderful.
Well, that was only because she wouldn't let me go by myself because it was just women.
Smart lady.
Okay.
So the last chapter of the book talks about being happy versus having happiness. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've struggled with that for so long. And because, again, a lot of what I put in the book was just my own crazy learnings, right, through my own mistakes and pains. And I always say that, generally that's what a book is. You get to read something that somebody's probably taken 20 years of, pain, mistakes, and experience, and then they put it into a couple hundred pages. How cool is that, right?
Well, then, it cuts down the learning.
Yeah.
I don't have to do all those failures. I can, skip some of it.
That's the magic of reading.
Yeah. Well, where this came from, and of course, a lot of reading has taught me too, but I remember when I was younger, I'm 54 now, and I started selling real estate when I was 24, so that was 30 years ago, and I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and I used to work really, really hard. Like, I've always enjoyed work, and I really do. But it was always like I was waiting to get somewhere. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not. But I was always, I did this. If I could just do that much, wouldn't life be really good? Or, if I could just go on a holiday here, wouldn't life be really good? And every year I kept thinking to myself, like, what on earth am I waiting for? You know what I mean? Like, I said, I got to choose to be happy now. And my theory is that that's what all of us are after. Every time you set a goal, it's just to make you happy, right? Like, everything we do really is to make us feel good about ourselves and be happy as a human being. And of course, I started to read a lot at the time, and so I just thought to myself, I said, a lot of people chase it. It's the big chase, right? I'll be happy when the mortgage is paid off. I'll be happy when the kids are finished college so we don't have to, pay those bills anymore. Or I'll be happy when the kids have grandkids. Or, I'll be happy when I'm done work so we can retire and go down to Florida all winter. Whatever it is, right? Like, everybody's always waiting to be happy. And so what I finally decided to do in my own life, and this is just my own experience, I don't know if it's right or wrong, is I said, I love working. But I'm not doing everything with my life I want to do right now because I'm working too much. So I decided, hey, I'm going to choose to do all the things I want to do now. I'm going to be happy every day. I call building a perfect day. I'm going to be happy every day. And instead of waiting for it, it's like a choice. I'm just going to choose to be happy. And part of that is, yes, I get up in the morning and I do my R&R time, the review and reflection time I talked about. I enjoy that. I like to exercise, so I do that. And as I said, I breakfast talk to my wife, and I come and, and I work really hard when I work. And but by 5:30, I'm out of here. Now, I've just got no interest anymore, because I want to go home and I want to have dinner with my wife and family, and I want to enjoy a glass of wine, and I don't mind working for an hour after that. So my whole theory was I'm just going to choose to be happy. I'm going to build a life, right, that I am going to be happy in, instead of always waiting, for something to happen where I can finally be happy, or some outside event has to take place before I can be happy. Example. You get rejection, I'm not happy, right? Oh, I got the sale, I'm happy. Oh, didn't make much money this week, not happy. Oh, had a great week, happy. You know what I mean? Like,
you're on this happiness roller coaster.
Yeah, so what happens is the whole world seems like it is then responsible for my happiness, rather than me just saying, you want to know something? I'm going to go out and I'm going to perform at my best every day, right? So I have this little mantra, I call it, be happy, do your best, and have fun. I'm going to wake up every day, and I'm going to choose to be happy. Now, I'm going to give everything 100%, right? When I'm speaking, they're going to get 100% of me. When I'm doing a sales pitch, they're going to get 100% of me. But at the end, if it doesn't work out the way I want, I'm still happy, because I'm tied to me. I'm tied to me doing my best. And if I do my best, God knows there's nothing else I could have done. So why worry about the result, right? And, just get in the car. If it didn't work out, crank up the music and enjoy your drive home. You know what I mean? Hey, what else could you have done? Yep. So that's the whole do your best part. And then just, try to have fun. And so that's my whole theory behind it anyway, is that, instead of waiting, just decide, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy every day.
It's interesting that when we achieve a goal and we reflect back at that achievement, sometimes it tends to lack the luster of when you were envisioning the goal that occurred. But what really makes you happy is the journey throughout that process to achieve that goal. And it's unfortunate until you realize that it's the journey that is the magic, that you missed all that opportunity to be happy during that journey.
I know.
And we use it as a principle ourselves in our day-to-day lives to, our trigger is a meal. Whenever we're eating, doesn't matter whether it's lunch, breakfast, second breakfast, third dinner, whatever the case may be. I don't care if it's a candy bar. That's my trigger, and Lorie's trigger too, that we take a minute and we think about what we're grateful for. And that puts you in a different mindset of wanting what's going to happen tomorrow, and appreciating what's happening today. And I think there's a huge lesson to be learned there. And we could go on all day about that, because that would solve things like depression.
Yeah.
Solve things like, negative actions and big mistakes that people make that are maybe against ethics and what have you. There's a huge topic there, but I really like your description of being happy versus that having happiness and that terminology. So very cool.
There was some
happiness isn't just a thing.
Yeah,
it's a part of you.
It's a choice. It's a
choice. Yeah. There's a great book called The Happiness Advantage by I think it was written by Sean Achor, and I read it, and he cited some studies in the book of 275,000 people, and they studied these people, and they're trying to determine, does happiness lead to success, or does success lead to happiness? Okay, so does happiness lead to success, or success lead to happiness? And it was determined beyond the shadow of a doubt that happiness leads to success.
Yeah.
Because you and I both know some pretty successful people financially. I'm sure the most unhappiest people you've ever seen in your life. Right? Yeah. Now, mind you, I always say if you're going to be unhappy, you might as well have a bunch of money. But broke, right?
But it's also important. Important to understand that the opposite is not true either. So not having a lot of money doesn't make you happy either. There are some very successful people who are incredibly happy, but the work begins before the success.
100%.
And that's really what it comes down to when you say that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And being happy, though, is also part of the values that you instill within yourself. The more in tune you are with your values, the happier you're going to be, because you're being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears here just a little.
Yeah.
And let's talk about a couple of mistakes that you see. You talk to a lot of entrepreneurs making when it comes to maybe even maintaining clients, growing their business. What are two things that you see from a business perspective?
Well, I think the big one to me is, a lot of salespeople and business people tend to be too transactional. So what they're thinking about is the deal, right? Or the sale or whatever it is. But I look at it and say, I think it's really about deepening and building great relationships by providing tremendous value. One of my mentors many, many years ago, when I heard him speak, it's down in Dallas, Texas, and he said this. He said, if we would wake up every day and if we would spend as much time thinking about how to deliver value as we do thinking about how to make money, we'd soon find ourselves rich beyond belief. And I love that thought because, when we're in business, really, we go to work every day. Yes, we want to be fulfilled, but let's face it, we go to work because we want to make a living, right? We want to make money. That's how the world drives, right? And the more successful we all are, it's better for the economy. It's better for everybody, right? It's a big wheel. But I think what we have to understand is that the only way we're going to be successful in the world is by bringing tremendous value to the world, by doing maybe a better job or a better product or better service than everybody else. Because when we do that, what ends up happening is it doesn't just become transactional, because then the rest of the world starts to support your goals. So if you do a really great job, then other people start to talk about what it is you do. And all of a sudden your business, starts to grow. Example, my brother lives in Peterborough, and he's got a company called And Contracting. And, very, very successful company, does kitchens and baths. And I was sitting having a conversation one time, and I said, what drives your business? He said, referrals. He said, my whole job is one thing. He said, even though the company now is doing, over 150 bathrooms a year. That's a lot of bathrooms, right? Like
That's a lot of bathrooms.
Over 150, he said, but I always do the final inspection. And I want to go in and I want to meet with the client. I want to do the final inspection because I want to make sure that they're not just satisfied, but they're completely happy with everything we did, because he goes, that's what drives my business. Sure, has he done some marketing, some advertising? Absolutely. But his business is growing because everybody else is supporting him. He's not transactional.
Right.
And he told me a cool story about, about a week later after he finished a job, he got a phone call, and of course, the lady said, we got a leak. He runs over, takes a look, and sure enough, there was a leak in the second floor bathroom, and it was leaking down into the dining room area. I guess it was a wall, but it was coming across the ceiling. We know what happens with drywall when it gets wet. It spreads quickly. So he fixed it, apologized, and he said, listen, well, I'm going to have to repair all of this, but why don't we do this? Why don't you allow me to completely redecorate your dining room? Allow me to put up a new chandelier for you. Allow me to paint wallpaper. You tell me what you want done, and I'm going to do it for you. And I'll tell you the stores to go and pick everything out. Well, this lady turned out to be so happy that she became his greatest referral source.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Because he wasn't transactional.
Deliver
Amazing.
the unexpected.
There you go, yeah.
Deliver the unexpected.
Yeah.
Great title. Great title. That's what it comes down to. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we always end our interview with, if you could give one piece of advice that our listeners could take action on today that would benefit their business or personally, what would be your advice, Richard?
Well, I know it sounds old, but it's attitude. But let me tell you a quick story to set it up. I was staying at a hotel in San Francisco a number of years ago called the Argent Hotel. And it's a little boutique type hotel. I've never stayed there before, didn't really know anything about it. My office booked it for me, and I went down there. I had a speaking engagement, and I'd been on the road for about a week. I remember I was relatively tired, and I got back that night. I was flying out the next morning. I came down the next morning with my roller bag and my briefcase, and I walked into the lobby, and I was going to check out, and there's 3 people in front of me. This was back before it was sort of e-checkouts and all that, but there's 3 people standing in front of me. I get in line, and this gentleman walks up who was a bellboy. He said, sir, are you leaving us today? I said, yes, I am. He said, where are you heading? I said, well, I'm heading back home to Toronto. He said, are you going to need a cab? I says, well, actually, I am. He said, well, I'll get you a cab right away. And he runs to the front door, and he comes back, and he says, I got your cab. It's out front. He said, would you like me to take your suitcase and throw it in the trunk? Oh, that's really cool, right? I'm still standing in line. Away he goes with my briefcase, or my suitcase. Now, I remember looking at him for a minute thinking, I hope this guy really works here. Anyway, so he comes back up and catches up with me after I had finished checking out, and he's walking with me, and he said, would you like a newspaper to read on the way to the airport? I have the San Francisco Chronicle and the USA Today. I said, that's great. I'll take the USA Today. Gives me a copy. Then he says this, would you like me to have the cab driver stop at the Starbucks just on the corner there to get you a coffee? And then you can enjoy your paper while enjoying your coffee because you're about 30 minutes to the airport.
Nice.
Well, in that moment, I'm thinking to myself, do you have any idea how big your tip is getting right now, son? You know what I mean? And I tell that story because when I get in the cab, I did get a coffee, but I never opened the newspaper because I couldn't stop thinking about that guy. And I kept thinking to myself, there was 2 other bellboys standing at the bell desk. Nobody was doing anything. And there's one guy, right? And this is a pretty low-paying job, I think you would all agree, make a minimum wage and depending on tips. But he was probably thinking to himself, maybe not just like this. He probably see me get off, and he said, oh, that guy's leaving us today. I bet you somewhere he's got money in his pocket. You know what I mean? My job as a business person is to say, how can I bring value to him so that he will willingly want to give me money?
Yep.
Which he did effectively.
Right.
Well, when I tell that story, I tell it that particular person, and I wish I knew his name, but I don't, he could take that attitude to any business. Any business. Managing McDonald's, right? Delivering newspapers, right? Being a real estate agent, running an insurance company, running a hotel, anything. You take that attitude of service, then all of a sudden, you're going to be a success. You can't help but be a success. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I believe in business that giving starts the receiving process. And I believe that if we get up every day and we say, okay, how can we do a better job? How can we deliver the unexpected? How can we serve? Then what will happen is the rest of the world will start to support our goals because they're also excited about what it is we do. And it all stems from one thing, our attitude. That guy just had an attitude that was different from the other two guys standing at the bell desk.
He woke up that morning and said he was going to be happy.
Right, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have some fun, and I'm going to get some of Richard Robbins' money today. That's exactly what he thought, right? And by the way, Richard Robbins was really happy to give it to him because I was so impressed, right? I'm going, that was beautiful, man. You know, he deserves a nice tip, right? So I gave him $1. But anyway.
That's awesome. Yeah, but after the exchange, that would no.
No,
I
he
get
gave a
Canadian dollar.
No.
US.
That's it. Awesome. So, I mean, just waking up each day and saying, what could I do different today that is an unexpected? Delivering that unexpected is going to make a change. It's going to make a dramatic change. Absolutely. Wow.
You know how simple it is even? We can go on Facebook today, you know, hook up with our customers. You find out their child graduated, phone them. You know what I mean? You find out the kids won a soccer game, put a message on, you know, send them an email. Like, we live in a transparent world today. It's amazing. You know what everybody's doing between Twitter and Facebook, and we got Skype, you know, and all these things. You're going, wow.
Yeah.
Well, just make a point of every day, try to catch up with people, find out what they're doing, you know, reach out to them, say hello, send them a gift. It's almost as simple as that, if you really think about it.
That's it. All right. It is time to head into the examination room.
It's time for the examination room.
He giggles a little nervously.
He doesn't know what's coming.
Okay. All right. Why don't you let him in?
Okay, so just before we let you go, at the end of our show, we always like to examine a quote, and it's called the examination room. So we have a quote for you, and you just give us your take on what it means to you, and we give our take back, and we'll take it from there.
Beautiful.
So we put you on the spot, and you know, really.
If you weren't on the hot spot already, now you are.
Don't worry. If I don't have an answer, I'll hang up.
There you go.
Okay, so the quote today is from Jim Rohn,
Yeah.
and it's, you must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. That is something you have charge of.
Yes, I love that. Jim Rohn was one of my great mentors. He's the one I saw speak in Dallas. I was telling you about. So isn't that funny? And you bring up Jim Rohn. I look at that and I say, you know, there's no question that so many things takes place in our life, good and bad. You know, I say to people, hey, you know, how things going? They can say, oh, they're really, really good. I go, well, just wait. You know, some people say to me, you know, how are things going? Oh, they're really, really bad. Just wait. Like, that's what he's talking about, the seasons, right? Like, come on. You know, things are going to happen. We're going to have good years, good days, bad days. That's the deal, right? And we're not always responsible for what happens to us. But we're always responsible for how we respond to what happens to us. And to me, that's what that quote says to me. That's what I read into that for me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. You know, we have I guess a poster or a print on one of our walls, and it's a Dutch proverb. And the Dutch proverb goes, you know, life is not about having a good hand. Life is about playing a poor hand well.
Yes.
And I think, you know, when people stop comparing, when they stop looking outside of their sphere for how they're doing, good, bad, or otherwise, and start looking inside and how they feel about themselves, how they feel about how their day went, what they accomplished. Did they make a difference? Did they give 100%? And if they didn't, what can they do different tomorrow that'll change that? They begin that natural progression of taking charge of their own life, taking responsibility. And it all comes down to exactly what you said, Richard. You know, you cannot control what happens to us, but we do have 100% control on what or how we react to what happens to us. And I absolutely agree to that. I always go back to that thought, and I don't want to go down a negative path by any means, but it always stuck with me, the story about some of the Jewish Nazi prison camp survivors, and you know, the mental states that they had to go into to survive, and really internalize it, really brings strength to the fact of, the worst things in the world could be happening to you, but you choose if they're the worst or how you're going to handle that. And if they can do that, my God, success is a cakewalk. It really is. So, yeah.
Sometimes you just have to compare yourself to others, right? Or what others have dealt with in history, and you're going, wow, it's a pretty good deal we got.
Exactly.
Oh, you two are a tough act to follow, I tell you.
No.
I'm going to take it the route of, it's you expect the unexpected, not just deliver the unexpected, but expect the unexpected. Change is always going to happen, and you can't prepare for every single thing that's going to happen in your life, but you can kind of roll with the punches, and it's your internal attitude that's going to get you through. As far as, it's not a bad situation unless you make it a bad situation. It's your choice on how you react to it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. All right, so author of Deliver the Unexpected, Richard Robbins. How can people reach out and get in touch with you if they want to talk to you some more?
RichardRobbins.com is the easiest way. If you go to our website, everything is there. Right?
Except for your email address.
Okay.
Except for my email address, right?
Smart guy.
So who is it, if someone wanted to reach out to you, who would they contact within your organization to say, hey?
Yeah, they could contact Dana. That's my assistant. So just Dana at richardrobbins.com.
Perfect.
And she looks after...
She's actually wonderful. She was really wonderful to work with.
Yeah, she's amazing. She schedules everything, looks after everything, and just tells me, okay, Rich, here's where you're going to be at 1 o'clock. Are you ready? Okay. Which is very good.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We're going to have a link on the blog post too, in the show notes for people who, if they want to pick up your book, and you don't mind. I was going to say, you don't mind if we share your Facebook and Twitter.
No, fine.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't mind if people email me. I have no problem with that at all. Like, mine's just Richard at richardrobbins.com. So it's not like we're trying to hide or anything. It's better if it goes to her, because a lot of it, I don't have to deal with that sort of thing. But I'm fine if people want to email me specifically with a question. I'd be very glad to read it over and try to answer it for them. Whatever I can do to help. Right?
Richard, thank you for taking the time today. That was fantastic. I could talk about this stuff all day long.
Me too.
I'm going to read your book and definitely share my opinions and my comments on Twitter with you. That would be fantastic, and we'll go.
I know our son would enjoy this too.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome.
Our pleasure.
Until next time.
Don't do a thing in business.
Or in life.
Unless you're measuring it.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye for now.